Welcome to Flore, fantasy and sci-fi lore. Today we are diving into the Netflix Witcher, the last episode of the first season. We're going to talk about the differences between the games, the series, and the books. We'll talk about some of the things that are exclusive to the Netflix series, as that's kind of our big focal point of our dive. We'll talk about some of the creatures that he faces in there and the lore behind them, and the type of poison he's dealing with. We'll talk about the differences between sorceresses and druids, and which one Geralt's mom actually is, and talk about some of the points in the series that are very different in the meeting of Cirilla and Geralt from the games and the books, and how that really shapes that encounter in a way that within the series, it almost doesn't make very much sense, but within the games and movies, it makes a lot of sense. And so if you're interested in any of that deep dive here, join us on the floor. Roll the intro.
Do you remember the first story that was so spellbinding that it drove you to break the rules and stay up all night? To keep reading, keep listening, keep playing? So good you forgot your life and lived there?
So good that the moment it ended, you asked yourself, what next?
Welcome to the Flore. Our goal is to take you back, take you deeper, to explore and understand more, and relive that childlike wonder.
Join us as we dive deep into humanity's greatest stories, no matter how they are told, through books, movies, television, even games.
One of us does an in-depth research on our topic. One of us is familiar with the topic.
And one of us knows nothing. So the right questions will always be asked and will be addressed for anyone coming into the topic, regardless of how much you know.
Enjoy another world, another adventure, another spellbinding story. Join us on the floor. Okay, we are in episode 8 of The Witcher Season 1, the final episode of the season. So, as always, we're going to be diving deep into some of the lore points. So, the very short summary is that we're going to see preparation in the Battle of Sodden Hill, and Geralt will save a merchant who will offer him the Law of Surprise, and that surprise will be, once again, Cirilla of Cintra. The two will finally meet up, and then Yennefer will save the northern kingdoms from Nilfgaard in a final desperate attempt. So that's the summary of the episode. And then, of course, we're going to dive deep into the lore and some of the points you may have missed and kind of some deeper understanding of what's going on. So that is where we are at.
So he gets given Cirilla 3 times.
No, twice. So
Twice.
we have referenced this event coming up, but here we will see it actually play out.
I see.
So
Okay.
the beginning of this episode is at the very end. We saw Nilfgaard coming in and attacking Cintra, and Geralt is locked up. He escapes. And then we've kind of jumped forward a little bit here. So if we go all the way back to episode 1 and we see the fall of Cintra to Nilfgaard, this episode begins after the fall of Cintra. As Geralt moves through the city, there are just bodies everywhere from the battle that took place. Geralt is in Cirilla's room. He sees her dresses, her books. He is trying to understand her, looking for clues as to where she might be, where she might go. In a way, he's almost trying to learn and understand her the way he learns and understands the monsters he hunts, so that he can hunt her down and find her.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, well, you could also just look at it. He's doing his detective work like Batman or Sherlock Holmes. But yes, Cirilla's a monster.
yes.
Way to go. Jeez.
All right. So when he leaves Cintra, Geralt meets a farmer, Yaruga, on the road. And the farmer is giving a proper burial to some of the Cintra refugees who have been dead. Now, he mentions that they have been dead for weeks. And so this could indicate that it has been a few weeks from the fall of Sodden. And that will have given the armies of Nilfgaard time to move all the way to the fortress of Sodden, where they are preparing to attack.
Okay.
While they are they are burying these bodies, there is a creature attack. Now, these creatures are never named in this episode. And so there's a few guesses as to what they are, kind of based on how they look, what they do, and the poison that goes into Geralt.
Okay, so how do they look?
So their appearance is that of a necker. And so it's kind of humanoid. They've got large heads, large eyes that glow in the moonlight, large mouths with lots of teeth. They've got kind of black, desiccated skin. So the necker, the bestiary, compares them to drowners, except these creatures tunnel. And drowners are thought to be men who died at sea and kind of attack to drag other men back down. And so that's kind of the comparison made between the necker and the drowner. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and neckers, they're social creatures. They tunnel, but they move in tribes and they attack in packs. Sometimes they even have chieftains. The other creature could be is what's called a necrophage. Now, necrophage is almost more of a category of monster rather than a specific creature, because there's all kinds of variations between them. However, this category of necrophage doesn't include neckers, and that's why we kind of mention them separately.
Okay.
And so necrophages, as just like the name implies, these are creatures that eat the bodies of the dead. So they're often found on battlefields and in cemeteries. But some have no hesitation on feeding on the bodies of the living as well, or even killing them intentionally just to add to the food supply. So this is similar to a real live animal called a fusa. So on the island of Madagascar, there are creatures called fusas, and they go on killing sprees. And what they'll do is they just hunt and kill as many creatures in a given area as they can, and then they just let the bodies rot, and then they can move through eating, to the point that a lot of zoos won't even house fusas, because if they get out, they go on killing sprees.
Oh man,
That's
wild.
fantastic.
And so in this scenario, there's that giant battle, bunch of dead bodies left behind. It attracted this pack.
So, well, it's these were refugees. A bunch of refugees were slaughtered by Nilfgaard's army and just left dead along the side of the road. And so it could be that all these bodies attracted the necrophages. Like I said, we never get the creatures named. And so it could be either of these two. They definitely look like neckers, but they could just be a form of necrophages. That's, there's all kinds of diversity there.
A thought to prefer eating rotting corpses over fresh ones.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, get that. It's like aged cheese. You just get a little more flavor.
So while fighting off the necrophages, of course, Geralt saves the farmer Yaruga, and then he is bitten. He drinks a potion and pours it over the injury, and then kind of passes out. And this kind of brings us up to Yennefer. So Yennefer and 60 mages are headed to Sodden. Now,
so hold up. His potions, he can drink them or pour them on his wounds.
Apparently. This one, yeah.
Right.
He does, it's the same potion. Yeah. Same potion.
Just making sure.
Yeah, it depends on the potion.
Do you think it was like a numbing agent? Like knocks him out?
Well, no, because they mentioned that whatever that animal was is highly poisonous.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an anti-poison. Right.
Yes.
So how does this poison work?
We know that it's killing him, right? I mean, they
Normally
bite him,
it just kills a
and he's
normal
poisoned.
human pretty quickly, but
Yeah.
Witcher's heart rate's like 4 times slower at rest.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so he's able to treat it with his potions. Okay. So we have 60 mages who make their way to Sodden. And,
That's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot to help with the battle. The Battle of Sodden Hill, the preparation, all of this is not something that takes place on page in the books. Like, it's an important event that's referenced, but we never read about the events as they actually play out. And so, once again, Netflix is showing us something that we never saw in the games or the books, just to add to that piece of the story. Cirilla is found by the Yaruga's wife, and she is then taken in and taken back to the farm. That night on the farm, she sees what almost looks like a giant shooting star, but it comes up from the ground, right? And what it is Nilfgaard has launched a massive fireball at the defenses of Sodden, and the farm is close enough to Sodden that she can see it.
Ooh, yeah, it was big.
Okay.
And we then jump from Cirilla seeing this flying through the sky to Yennefer in the fortress of Sodden, waking up to see it hurtling down towards her and the other people. And she is able to deflect it. And this is the true conjunction of timelines, the moment where they all meet up and are now aligned. So,
Okay.
I don't want to name the episode that. That's extra confusing.
we can't. The true conjunction of timelines.
Oh, man. Oh, real quick, Eli, how do you think those fireballs are made?
With a fire.
With a fire.
Joe, do you remember how they make them?
Yeah, I know how they make them. We'll talk about it. I'm not going to go super deep because we have a whole short on magic where we'll talk about that in greater detail.
Each one, somebody has to die to make it.
Ooh.
And then they trebuchet it. Yeah, they blow up good. So Yennefer throwing it was important.
Yes, very powerful feat. So while Geralt is delirious or dreaming while he's fighting off the poison and letting his cure work through his body, we learn about his childhood just a little bit. One, we learn that his mother calls herself a sorceress, but she has a child. And from what we know about Yennefer, she wouldn't have been able to do that. So it's very likely that Geralt's mother was actually a druid. The big difference here is that a sorceress is trained at Aretuza, and in their graduation and ascension, they lose the ability to have children.
Mm-hmm.
But a druid is someone who has a magic ability, but is not trained by the Brotherhood. And so
that's like the difference.
Yeah, that's the big. So they don't go to the schools of magic, Banard or Aretuza. One, they're not beholden to the Brotherhood. They have no say of what they do, when or why or how. But a lot of times they're not as powerful because they haven't had the formal traiing on magic.
It's just more what they could figure out on their own.
Yeah, it's more just
rogue.
Yeah, what they could figure out on their own. And because of that, there isn't the ascension process where they have their ability to have children taken from them. So like, even though she refers to herself as a sorceress, it is very much likely she's a druid because she has a son.
Well, could she have had the son before?
Possibly, but not likely, as they tend to start fairly young at Aretuza.
Okay. I get it.
So, and it is possible this is all just a hallucination. But yeah, and then we also learned that she has made a deal with the Witchers, and the Witchers will take her son, and this is the moment where he is taken by Vesemir.
We don't even know what the deal was. We just know that she gave up her son.
Yes, we don't know what the deal was, but we do know that throughout most of their history, the Witchers have claimed the law of surprise for the intent of collecting children to become Witchers.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're like Jedi.
So like I said, we don't know what the deal was, but our best guess is at some point there was a law of surprise claimed by a Witcher, and this was her fulfilling the deal.
Speaking of surprises, let's take a break here.
Okay, so we have been mentioning at the end of our episodes recently about the treasure room, how, as Aaron likes to describe it, in the Flore we go deep into things, but in the treasure room we kind of go wide. And we wanted to give people who have never been in the treasure room a little bit of a sample. So going forward, we'll probably be putting in little bits and pieces here. So here is a small clip from the treasure room. We hope you enjoy it and are interested in learning more in there. And I'll even mention that I loved this transformation so much that she did a lot of things after that I hated and made me hate her. But I clung on to hope that Yennefer was awesome because this arc was so good. If it wasn't for this arc, I would have hated Yennefer of Vengerberg a long time ago. But this arc is so good.
All right. So we've been talking about episode 8 here and getting prepped for the fall of Sodden Hill. Talked about the neckers or necrophage. Talked about how the fireballs but we're not really talking about the fireballs right now. And it seems like, is the battle happening in this episode? Or
yes,
Okay.
it will happen in this episode. Yes.
Okay. Did that cover it? I feel like I was missing a bit.
Right? Like
Right.
Geralt saves a merchant from some
The merchant and the
or
poison.
necrophages. Yep. He's bitten. He takes a cure,
Mm-hmm.
and Cirilla is
and then
taken
flashbacks.
Yeah, and then flashbacks. Yeah. So
Okay.
all right. So and it is here that we learn that Geralt is angry about being made a Witcher. His conversation,
I would say conflicted.
Maybe conflicted, but yeah, he is upset about having to have gone through the trials, and so he expresses that anger at her in his hallucination or dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the morning, the merchant is trying to get Geralt to his farm as quickly as possible. Nilfgaard attacks Sodden, and Cirilla can hear the battle raging in the distance. So let's talk for a minute about the fireballs and the magic. So we've mentioned this before very briefly. And again,
real quick,
yeah.
Before you jump into magic, is Nilfgaard looking for Cirilla and that's why they're attacking, or are they just on their conquest?
They believe that she is in the north, and that is why they are pushing north. Now, they plan to conquer the whole continent either way. But
however, she's a priority.
Two birds, one flaming ball of death.
Yeah, in fact, even talking military strategy, Yennefer brings this up. She's like, why did Nilfgaard attack Sintra instead of just going north first? Doesn't make sense. Right?
So she's on to it that they're being tactical with their attacks.
Yeah, like not tactical in a way like we want to conquer everything. Tactical in a like something else is going on and we don't know. They're making choices we don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see.
Fringilla does make mention early on that Nilfgaard can use forbidden magic, and that will give them the upper hand in this battle. And that forbidden magic is fire. So we have talked about that they claim the 4 elements as sources for magic. You have earth, water, air, and fire.
Okay.
Now,
fire's forbidden.
Depending on what you want the magic to do, you will pick the element that best suited to that, right? Whether that's air, water, or earth. Now, the reason fire is forbidden is that fire is insatiable, right? Once you tap the source of fire, it offers you a lot of power, but it is an insatiable demand of the living essence needed for magic. So if we go way back to, I think, episode 2, where we see Yennefer at Aretuza, the girl's hand cripples up as she drains her own life force to elevate the flower. No, to elevate the stone, right? So it needs that life energy. Well, once you tap fire, there's no satiating. It just wants more and more and more, and it will just keep taking.
Play with fire, you're going to get burned. Fire's very hungry.
Fire is very hungry. And so we see this where Nilfgaard has their mages use magic to create these giant fireballs. One, it demands a great amount of power, but also they're tapping fire magic to make giant fireballs. Makes sense. And they don't have enough control to stop it from consuming them. So it literally just consumes them into nothing because it consumes everything it can. And so that is why fire is forbidden, because it is insatiable, and it will
basically you can catch yourself on fire by tapping into the power source.
Yeah, you'll see it like
you can't control it.
Yeah,
it's like summoning a demon. Like, oh darn.
So the Brotherhood, of course, has forbidden the use of fire magic for that reason. But Nilfgaard doesn't, and we see them use it. Now, as Nilfgaard wages its war against Sodden, Sodden begins to lose, and Nilfgaard just keeps coming. Like, they have some awesome strokes, some incredible moments where they, are doing awesome things, but Nilfgaard has more and more soldiers, and they just keep coming. And
Nilfgaard also has some plans and some ways in which they attacked that were interesting.
Yes. So
Like we talked about the fireballs, but then they had the smoke.
and then the little earworms.
The earworms, yep. All the stuff that Eli doesn't know what we're talking about. Yep.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
of those things.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, they fight all day and all night, and the morning is coming. And Nilfgaard has more soldiers that just keep coming. Many of the mages have died. At one point in the books, it mentions 14 of the 20 mages. So they sent 60. 40 of them flee during the night before the first battle, leaving only 20. And of those 20, 14 will die. So that is what we know there. And Yennefer sees that they don't have a chance, and she's having a conversation with Tisea. So Tisea is the woman who taught her magic at Aretuza.
Oh, okay.
And throughout, and in this moment, Yennefer almost becomes a schoolgirl again. She is turning to Tisea to have the answers, to help her, to save them all. And Tisea is dry. She doesn't have any power left to give, and then she turns to Yennefer, you're the most powerful mate. She doesn't say this specifically, but it is a reference to all these things. They're most powerful among us. You have to do this. And so Yennefer taps the forbidden magic of fire, and she draws in all the burning fires that are around Sodden into her, and then pours out a massive, she becomes a giant flamethrower, burning all the armies of Nilfgaard.
Army-sized flamethrower.
But she also didn't burn Tisea.
Yeah,
Like,
so
there's
she
a path around Tisea, which
Yeah,
is really cool to see.
Yeah,
So like all the grass she was still standing on was still green.
and when the fire ends, the armies of King Foltest arrive, and Nilfgaard retreats, and that is how the Battle of Sodden is won. But then nobody can find Yennefer, so they don't know if she died,
She burned up.
if she was taken by Nilfgaard, or if the fire consumed her from within. So, I will point out that this is different than how the books play out. In the books, it is King Foltest arrives during the battle and saves Sodden, whereas here in the show, he arrives after, and it is Yennefer who saves Sodden.
Does she still disappear?
Yes, either way, Yennefer disappears after the Battle of Sodden.
Okay.
So then Yaruga arrives at the farm with his wife, and Cirilla is there, and she's taken off into the woods, and then Geralt somehow knows she's in the woods and goes and chases her, and they find each other. So for me, this moment was always really strange. Be like, what the heck? But in the books, when they find each other, or even tapping the books, because in the books they have met several times before. Cirilla knows who Geralt of Rivia is and would recognize him, and he would recognize Cirilla, right? They know each other. And so tapping that knowledge from the books, the scene makes sense. Be like, they've known each other, they've met each other many times, and now this is the moment where this isn't Cirilla of Sintra, this is his child Surprise, and he is here to protect her. But I said, in the show, this always came off as strange because they present it very much that Cirilla doesn't know who, other than his name, doesn't know who Geralt is and has never met.
Yeah, but there was just a huge war. They even mentioned there's tons of magic in the air. Geralt literally mentions it. Like I can sense magic in the air.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, they're more attuned to everything right now, and they're connected by destiny. And like they're both on the battlefield, and they see each other, and you're thinking like, yeah, they're not going to know. Like, what, you think they're just normal people? So, like, no, it's a Witcher and the super baby.
And the super
baby. Like, I don't like Joe. Come on, man.
That's the title of the episode.
The Witcher and the super baby.
There we go. That's easy.
But yes, and so Geralt has finally found Cirilla, and Sintra has fallen. So he's no longer taking her from her family. He is her family now.
It's true. It's true. Eli.
Yes.
We have officially discussed the last episode of season 1 of The Witcher? What questions do you still have?
So Joe mentioned the guy who shows up at the end of the Battle of Sodden Hill. Who is he? You said he shows up with his army.
Foltest, King Foltest.
Oh, we've mentioned him. He's the fat one or something.
So this is the king. So we talked about him a long time ago. He is the one who had an incestuous affair with his sister. And then the child born is cursed by his sister's lover. And Geralt has to then save her, right? So this is where the Witcher was killed because he got bad info about what he was fighting.
Oh, okay.
So this is that king. So we have met Foltest before.
Okay. Yep. All right. So I would say, if I was to say what season 1 is about Geralt's growth as a Witcher, his relationship with Yennefer and Dandelion.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Dandelion doesn't appear in this episode.
Oh, is he hiding?
He's just not here.
He's upset because Geralt blew up at him.
Oh, okay.
Remember that episode?
When the genie silenced him?
No. The dragon. They went and hunted the dragon together. Oh. That was the last time they saw each other.
Oh, okay. But really, season 1 seems like this is like Geralt accepting that.
Yes.
This is his child.
Coming to terms with.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I imagine season 2 is them together for the majority of their adventure. But this is more just about him accepting that destiny has given him this child and it's his responsibility.
Yes.
That's what I would say season 1 is about.
Him not wanting to be a parent, but realizing by the end of it, he has to be a parent.
So this is just like the bad dad story that he comes back to being a good dad.
Comes back to being good dad.
Yeah.
This is your child. I want to do something else.
I want to do something else.
Until eventually he's like, fine, yes, take care of it.
If I have to. And then season 2 is also really good. So Eli, you'll get to watch that in 1 to 4 years.
Well, with us having new Witcher stuff coming out, like you guys got to catch me up.
What new Witcher stuff? Like books, games, shows?
Joe, didn't you mention there's new Witcher?
Yeah, so in our news segment, we covered a new comic from Dark Horse, and Netflix is producing a prequel. Yep.
Who's the prequel about? Does it say?
It hasn't clarified yet. It says Blood Origins. So there is I don't want to go into it too much here, but there's a story that is referenced in imagery. At one point, they tell it in season 2. It's told a lot, and it's never made reference that this is actually connected directly to Cirilla because they don't know it is, but it's the story of a human and an elf falling in love. And like I said, we see it in imagery often. It's told, so it's everywhere all the time. And I think this is the story that it'll be about because it is a story from Cirilla's bloodline that is told over and over. And it is the moment where the elves lose track of the bloodline and control of it.
Oh.
So I imagine that's what it is, but we don't know. But just based on the fact that they're saying that this is from Sapkowski's writings, that it's got to be that one because that's the only story from the bloodline that's told.
All
right. So that is The Witcher season 1. We hope that our deep dives have helped you kind of understand more about the episode and what's going on there and everything. And we've tried to talk about the books, how some of those differences have played out there, and also point out that even if you read these books, there's a lot of events that you will only see in the Netflix series. So if you're a diehard fan of the books and haven't checked it out, there's definitely a reason to do that.
Yes, definitely. All right, guys, we just finished the first season of The Witcher. What's our treasure room question?
Favorite character and why?
So we have finished the first season. Who is your favorite character and why? Or even just character arc, right? Because I think it's easy for a lot of people to be like, I love Geralt, but there's some great arcs that are just interesting to follow and really enjoy. So so you can do, or even just one of the arcs that a character has gone through, because some of our characters have gone through several. So,
it's true.
All right. So we are going to talk character arcs in the treasure room.
We will see you there. If you enjoyed this episode and want more on the topic,
we record a special treasure room for our patrons after every episode. In the regular episode, we go deep. In the treasure room, we go wide. To enjoy the bonus content, sign up at the Florite level or higher.
There is a treasure room for every episode from August 2021 and on. That's double the content. 2 episodes a week instead of 1.
Go to www.patreon.com/Flore, Fantasy and Lore. That's Flore spelled Flore. Select the Florite tier or higher. Immediately after each episode is released, the Treasure Room will post the bonus audio on Patreon. They are identified by the tag Treasure Room After and the title of the episode. You can also do a search for the keywords Treasure Room and find all the content you've been missing. Thanks for listening.
Leave us a review. Tell us why you like listening to us. Is it our awesome deep dives? Is it our amazing back and forth? Is it our charming good looks?
What would you like us to add or change? You can put that in the review as well. We read reviews.
Yeah, and if you're going to be leaving us a review telling us what you like about it, maybe you even want to share the content with your friends. Like and share on social media. You can join us on Twitter and Facebook. We post memes. And we actually started a Discord, so come play with us.
So a lot of the worlds we cover have a retcon. If you're not familiar with that term, it's reconstruction. Or sometimes we might use a bad source for some of our lore research. And if that happens, feel free to email us at florefantasyandlore@gmail.com. That is Flore spelled Flore, fantasyandlore@gmail.com. And if you're angry enough, we'll read it on the air.
Yes, we will. Also, the Treasure Room is now available. We have locked a few secrets for everything we cover in there. And each week, we add more.
And you can find the Treasure Room on patreon.com/Flore, Fantasy, and Lore. And how do you spell that, Aaron?
That's lore with an F at the beginning. So it sounds like floor, but it's not the floor you're thinking because it's our floor.
We hope you enjoyed your time on the floor. Think about your favorite part of the episode. Now, think about your nerdiest friend. Who is it? What is their name? They want to know about the floor. Stop holding out on them. Go and tell them about your favorite part.
Because all of this is more fun together.